Please rise and pledge the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
You like that?
Now, Peter,
I'm glad that you like the words.
before we
It didn't
start,
offend anybody.
could I put in a little plug for the shirt that I'm wearing tonight? This shirt is
I
the,
didn't say yes. Yes.
thank you. This shirt is the second most opinionated zip code in the country, I've been told. And what we're doing here is, these represent the Master Plan Committee. You can get these shirts for $6, I think downtown and on, at the Master Plan Committee meeting, and you'll be able to have this kind of writing on the back of your shirt. Time out. All right, time up.
No, you keep going. You got 6 ums and ahs going.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would again say, if we can support the Master Plan Committee, come and buy the shirts and attend and get your 2 cents in. So this is for the next 20 years. Thank you.
What did that work out to be, 11?
11.
But it was a good speech.
Nice speech.
Thank you very much. You keep us informed and progressive, and you'll $11 to the till.
This is,
In 30 seconds, not bad.
I didn't think I did a single of an R.
What he had to say? The money is.
All right.
All right, where do we stand? Let's get started with Gino Fratelloni. If you would like to address the board on...
26 Howard Avenue. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to the town of Littleton that I love so much. I had the pleasure of to be elected, and unfortunately, after 4 months, I've been appointed by the governor on a housing authority. So I wanted to say thank you to the town of Littleton for having faith in me. I've been in a housing authority for over 12, 13 years, and I was wondering if the planning board, I speak as an individual, not as a board. I speak because being appointed by the governor, they told me that I have to speak in behalf of the government of Massachusetts. I would like the planning board to allocate, whenever there is a way that you can adjust it, 6 or 7 acres for the housing authority, for people that make less than $12,000 a year. Very simple. I've been here for 12, 13 years speaking and nothing ever happened. So I was hoping that maybe now, as my club in the past, support me to say to the town, let's have some land for the elderly that we need so
Are you
much.
asking for land for the elderly, or are you asking land for...
For the housing authority.
those of-
So,
that
yeah,
earn
so
under
we can build,
12,000.
so the state will build housing for the elderly, between 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. Only I need is 60 units
For the elderly?
for the elderly,
'Cause that's not what you said in the beginning.
yeah.
Gino, do you know if there's funding from the state to
Yes, there is.
pay for this?
Yes, they have $2 billion in bonds just for housing for Massachusetts.
And how would that work for a town? Do they put up all the money? Do they put up 50% of
The
it?
town has to provide the land, and then we'll work from there. We have some money saving for some specific work that has to be done, like has to be perk and so forth.
Yeah.
I will, actually, when I have the land, I approach the state with the support of
Yeah.
my members of the housing authority, and then I present it to the state, and they will allocate money for, particularly building housing for the seniors on a fixed income. It's not like they're having $40,000 or $50,000 a year income.
Right,
There's a
right.
lot of people that have nothing practically, and they live in Littleton since they were born.
Well, I was just wondering if the state provides funds, and it seems like they do. And once you have the land, then you can go and apply for it.
Before we speak to the state, they want to make sure you have a piece of land.
There's no
Great.
land allocated whatsoever presently.
At the present, no. They, in the future, in the past, they wanted to allocate a little piece of the land, but it was not even perkable. There was some area that was unbuildable. For
So
some
far in the
reason.
past, nothing has ever been allocated towards
Nothing in
this
the past,
this
no.
process. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All
Thank you so
set?
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. And now I have to go to another meeting. I appreciate, and I say good night.
Well, goodbye, or you're handy.
Thank you.
God bless.
All right, so we're at next, the minutes.
Meeting minutes for May 12th and May 26th and June 23rd and July 6th. I move to approve.
Well, hang on there. Really?
I want some discussion.
You want to approve them?
Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to read all the minutes, but I know there were some concerns regarding, we had allocated a piece of land from a development to go to Conservation Trust, and I think we meant to do Conservation Commission, but I want to spend some more time on it before, I want to review the tape.
Okay.
So before we approve the minutes, I want to take some time, so can we carry that to the next meeting?
Very good.
We'll have more members.
Sure.
All right.
They're not, that land hasn't already been registered, correct?
No.
Good. All right, so there we go, we're on to the mail, no problems, everything's hunky-dory aside from those actions. So we're not going to approve the minutes as
No,
written.
I withdraw my motion.
All right, very good, and we'll continue that to the following meeting. Is that right, Mark? All right, bills and payroll, they making their way?
They will in a second. Back up to distribution drive letter, it's on the mail, sorry. It's on the agenda, but not in the packet. We got we have the two competing letters one from Condyne about access on distribution drive, questioning whether FIBA Technologies and their lessees have the right to access the circle. And we have a letter from FIBA Technologies attorney now saying that they feel they have it. Town council has reviewed both and thinks that FIBA Technologies does have the right to access all the distribution drive, and that the Air Liquide project can move forward without any concerns on that.
So that's our attorney's professional opinion.
Yeah.
So should we go to court for some reason further down, then he's on his own dime, because, you know, we paid him to give us a good decision, right?
There you go.
Okay.
The,
You second that motion?
We can't make it first.
Yeah, so,
Huh?
so Maren, they,
First motion.
both, so let's see, if I understand, both parties are in agreement that they, FIBA can access the total, the whole circle?
It's not an issue that the town can step in on.
Yes.
But town council agrees with FIBA Technologies
That they
attorney.
have the right
that
to
they have
access the whole circle?
access.
Yeah, okay.
Right. And Condyne hasn't submitted anything since then because town council's letter just came in, but.
Perfect. Now,
It's
is
town
there any
council.
action we have to take on
No.
that? Okay, that's great news. That means the nitrogen plant goes forward.
Hydrogen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hydrogen, yep.
Okay.
Bills and payroll is coming right there.
Does anyone have any, we're doing the bills and payroll. In the meantime, how does anyone
No, whatever.
feel about the library selection, site selection? You have any opinions on that, Richie?
The library site selection, yes, I attended the meeting where they chose the site, and there was I believe you were there, Peter. I think the selectmen were represented. There were quite a few boards represented. Police and fire were not there that night, but I thought that library group was going to meet with them the following day. And it was a consensus of everybody in the room, there was probably a dozen people or more in the room that night, that the site over the hill behind Town Hall would be the best site for a new building if that's the ultimate decision of the library selection committee to build, as opposed to renovate.
So I'm under the impression that they're looking to, right now they have 15,000 square feet, correct?
That's, yes, something like that.
They're looking to build another building that will give them 22,000 square feet.
I believe that's right.
21,000 square feet.
I believe that's right.
Under 7,000 more, right? So we're looking to spend $7 million to get 7,000 square feet larger than what we have now?
Yes, and their application to the,
Whole nother building, whole nother set of maintenance issues.
well, don't forget, new buildings are more efficient, and
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we did meet with the site selection of police and fire the day after the meeting, so we
Very good.
gave them our concerns on it, which was mostly access to the back of the building, because you need to, and you're getting into wetlands, and also,
There's no way for you to get back there.
well, there is, but it's gonna be costly, because
We're
the
gonna
way
put a
they're
$300,000 road, right?
well, they're extending the parking lot and so you can't go that way. So you'll have to go that path that starts right after 19 Shattuck, that would have to be widened to take a truck, or you're coming up through the wetlands from the Russell Street School. So it's either one of those two options of getting a fire apparatus down there that can also turn around and be far enough away that if the building collapsed, it wouldn't fall on the truck. And then you're getting into the wetland. But we explained it and they understood it, and I believe
We need a new truck, right?
Yeah.
Just wondered if that building fell on that truck, we're gonna,
That's what the insurance carried. But so we did meet with them the next day.
Very good. You have any questions about it?
None.
I believe they still have some answers to give to the selectmen, and I think that they're working on those answers. They have a design that's been drafted that reflects the fire services and police concerns, and fits into that area beyond the parking lot as a two-story building, one-story in the lower area, and the top story, even with the grade of the parking lot. All those documents are online. If you go to Littleton Library and then go to the new library project, about halfway down their website, you can access all the documents, including the request, the original request to the state for funds for the library. And so that'll tell you how, in that, you'll find out how they need 6,000 more square feet.
Okay,
There you go.
the master plan. Do you want to address that? You want me to give it a shot?
Oh, good, you take it.
We had another meeting the other night, and it went very well. PJ did a fantastic job, and we kind of interrogated our clients of sorts, and they did well. Feedback was good, and I think we're progressing at a decent pace. So that was that.
Yeah, and we could use,
I thought you said I was going to take care of that. I just did. What are you going to say?
could I add a few words?
A few.
All right, we could use more attendance at that meeting, because it really needs to be, the whole communities, it really needs to be developed by the whole community, not just,
Not just the Old Boy Network?
the representatives from all different groups in the community, is what we have on the plan right now. But, yeah, so we just need more attendance, and that's the best way you can get a T-shirt like this. So, there you go.
For $6?
For $6, that's right.
Or more.
And actually, we could do a save the date of September 9th and 10th, and September 30th and October 1st. So the 2 dates the committee is hoping to schedule the in-depth charrettes. So it'll be more.
That's right.
Yeah, that'll be a good time for public input into those concentrated. And we'll try to get information out there as soon as we can, so we get those planned and more information on it.
Yeah, there's, on site, on the master plan committee site, there's lots of documents that help, that have the latest documents consolidate all the issues that the consultants have been able to pull from people's opinions. And it's very interesting, because you can talk to one person and they have a certain thing that they want to see saved in the town, and another person, well, that's all consolidated now, and I think they're right on with all of the issues. I think they've captured all the issues.
All right.
Now, if we can develop a plan that'll capture all those.
Yeah, good. Okay, we're running out of time here, so what are we up to? Air Road, we've already,
Well, I wanted to turn the corner on that just a little bit. I gave you a copy of the application from Air Liquide, Plnbrd Technologies, to the selectmen for the flammable storage. I wrote a response from the department end saying what on their request has been approved by the planning board and what would need further review. I didn't know if you guys wanted to choose to write another letter in response to that. It's not. That's your choice, not necessary, I've covered.
it didn't seem there was anything that would need to be addressed by us. So, okay.
Okay.
That's-
Yep, that was it.
I was good with that as well. Yeah.
Jeez.
didn't ask the members, you know, we're part
I
of
was
this
trying
group
to move
too.
this stuff along.
You're doing a good job, Peter.
If you stop interrupting, it'll be even better.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Where are we at now? Air Road, we just did that.
Open space and recreation plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I came to the selectmen meeting, last, 2 weeks ago now. I believe it came up to them for support. They had to file it with the state. And I had read the document fairly in-depth, and overall, it's a really, really well put together document. I like a lot of it, but there were a few items in there that I think would handicap this board if we were to support it 100%. So I didn't want to give it a letter of endorsement until we were able to edit out a few minor details in the document, which, we can either go through now, or we can save for the August 4th meeting when we have a full board.
I'd rather have the entire board and,
Yeah.
with,
I wish I knew what those issues were. Maybe you can just highlight the issues and we'll save the August 4th meeting to discuss them.
All right, I'll get the highlights to you then.
Great.
Yeah, if
Through
anybody
Mary.
has comments on it, just send them to me and I'll send them all out in preparation for the meeting on the 4th.
That's
Okay.
great, yeah. It's, this is the open space and recreation plan for Littleton, Massachusetts. Looks like it's about 192 pages long.
Well, and I didn't try to print out any of the full-size maps
Yeah.
that are associated with
Thank you.
it. They are
The trees, thank
It
you.
represents a huge amount of work.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, very detailed, very involved.
Now, is this draft, this is a draft plan?
It's a draft, it goes to the state, it has gone to the state in this draft format, and there is time, the state will review it and recommend some changes, and then one of the requests is for the planning board to support it. So there's some time for you to consider your comments, but it would be good to.
And so it's still, we still can have this amended before it's done?
Yes.
That's
We
great.
have almost one full year.
okay.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well,
All right, so that's good, thank you very much. Thank you, Richie and Ed. And now we're at the point.
Didn't catch up with Tim today, so.
So the point is, they're not going to be here?
That's the point.
So,
All righty.
didn't they give an update to the selectmen about a week ago?
So,
I thought I saw them on the selectmen's agenda a week ago, so.
so now we're almost a little bit early for a joint hearing with the tree warden. Is there any reason why we can't address some of that early, or do we really got to wait for the time?
you really have to wait for the time.
Dang.
We can jump
Catch
up
off early,
to, we can jump up to the 8:20. That's, I got a interesting email from the town of Groton. The temple that's going at the old Brock's Industries site just over the town line, off of 119.
Yep.
Technically, the driveway is in Littleton, and there was a site plan that the planning board approved for that entrance driveway that included quite a bit of landscaping, the roadway, a little bit of drainage infrastructure. The development's been in front of the Groton Planning Board for some revisions that reduce the overall impervious for the site. So it was kind of Groton was very happy with the changes that they were doing. I asked for a copy of the new grading plan and the new landscape plan. It didn't look to me like there were significant changes in Littleton. And the developer hasn't called or asked to see you. Just, I put it on there just in case they were gonna ask to come, but
All right.
I haven't seen any concerns with it.
Have you heard from the abutter?
No, I haven't. Has Debbie or Chris?
Okay, because we added trees and some screening for that road, on the edge of that road, so they could, would help keep their privacy.
Right, which is why I checked the new landscape plan, and that
those-
was still very robust landscaping on that.
That's great. Well, that was our only concern, and it was basically to address the concern of the butter. Because the rest looked fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if the whole road were in Littleton, it looked fine. Yeah. The drainage. That's great.
So anyway, that's, now we can leave early because we don't have the 8:20.
Oh, good. Marion, have you heard any more on the on the movie theater that's going to go into the point.
O'Neill Cinema, I haven't seen that building permit application come in yet.
Okay.
I believe they're still interested
That's,
and still moving forward. Just
yeah. Have you seen any applications come in for any part of the Phase 2?
yeah, a lot of phase two. Yeah, it's
Well, it's
under
completed.
construction
Right.
right now. Yeah, that's the middle. The first tier was Market Basket, the hotel, and those. Second tier is Great Road Kitchen and those.
Oh,
and then
okay,
the
okay,
Third
okay.
was,
Yeah, they're already up top. I was out there the other day, and they said that the cinema is still basically interested in doing it. They got it all leveled, and said that's where they're
Yeah,
gonna start right there. So
I believe the pad was ready for them.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that means they got retention ponds up there in place?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and,
Oh, yeah. As soon as they start, that's been an issue that they had to deal with right early on. Yes.
yeah. And roadway bases must be up in that area, built in that area already?
Right.
Yeah. Hey, question for Jimmy Clyde. Have you taken any runs up into that area to look at roadway bases and stuff like that? You know it's going to be private road all the way through. Is there any interest in, from
see
your
enough
end?
roads during the day, you don't wanna go up there and see more?
I don't really care for that.
What do you know about Cloverdale? What's going on with that now? You know anything
What's
about
the-
that?
So what's the latest with Cloverdale? Because after they did the clearing, there's one machine left sitting there, and nothing's happened since they cleared the trees. What's the next step for this process? Does anybody?
I saw them, they were grinding stumps out, I think they were digging some stumps out, seen a few conservation commission agendas where they're talking about the seed mix that they're gonna use. So I don't know if they're just waiting because it's been a terrible summer
Right.
to do that.
Listen, I live around the corner from it, and once they cleared the woods, I had 4 foxes move into my backyard, and all the deer that used to bed there have all scattered, so just curious what the next step is.
Yeah, I just.
What, they're dislodging the
Wildlife, yeah, they, a lot of wildlife moved into the
That was
neighborhood.
pretty thick in there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. You're going back natural, the way it was before there was a field, right? Oh.
Farmland.
Before it was farmland, it was wildland.
But it seems pretty rocky. It's hard to believe that there was any kind of farmland in there at all.
That's where they dumped all the rocks.
Oh, maybe.
I think it was pasture land for the cows.
Oh, okay. New England pasture.
But also said the swampy area behind it, they said at one point in time, probably 200 years ago, it was actually a field, but now it's
Well,
blocked off and
there's
it's
a
swampy.
big culvert that goes down through Gristmill out there. It must have been just a, waterway through.
Yeah. Blocked off the other end.
Because when it dries out, it actually does look like a pasture land back there.
So it does dry out. It must be pretty close to that now then.
This is the
I
closest
guess.
I've ever seen it as far as drying out, yeah.
Because we looked at it last year, we had a guy looking at the beaver dams and everything we went to, you could walk out to the middle, there was no water, anything last year. I think.
Ride four-wheelers out there now then? Get stuck in the mud?
You wouldn't get, there's no mud.
No mud?
Dry.
So
Yeah.
maybe now's the time for the conservation to come in and cut further back into the,
That beaver deceiver works really well. It's in the Maureen's backyard, we go right down and look at it.
Yeah, but we went out to look at it, the guy that put it in, and you could walk right up to it. There's nothing else.
Right.
So the beavers must have moved on too then.
Yeah, it's a cage that they put a tube down, so it goes through the underneath of the beaver dam, and then the cage, so they can't actually patch the hole in the dam.
Well, they move it far enough away from the dam that the beavers supposedly can't hear the water running, that's what they go to.
yeah, I saw something where they actually played a recording of water running, and the beavers were going cuckoo, where they just kept adding in mud and adding, and the water wasn't running, so. But they played a recording for them. It's kind of interesting.
All right.
We had time now for,
We're at 7:30. Joint hearing with tree warden.
after you.
Yeah, this is Tom.
Tom from Green National.
Hey, how are you? Good, how are
This
you?
is planning board tonight.
Since it's not a zoning public hearing, you can do it.
Does it need to be read?
Yes, it should be.
By the clerk. Am I the clerk?
Jamie's the clerk.
All right.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
You ready? The Town of Littleton Planning Board and Tree Warden will hold a joint public hearing on Thursday, July 21st at 7:30 PM in Room 103 of the Shattuck Street Town Hall to consider the application for a scenic road special permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 15C in the Code of the Town of Littleton and Scenic Road Bylaw, Chapter 143. The location is Nagog Hill Road from the Littleton-Acton Town Line to Newtown Road. The applicant is seeking a special permit on scenic road bylaw to allow temporary removal and reconstruction of stone walls and removal up to 7 street trees to allow roadway reconstruction. Application and plans can be viewed in the Planning Board and Town Hall Clerk's office during their business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed ban should appear at the time and place designated or provide written comments to the Planning Board by noon on July 20th. Jamie Cruz, Clerk, but read by Peter Scott, Chairman. You're up.
Thank you. As I said, Tom Bigelow from Green National. We're here for the Nagog Hill Road roadway reconstruction project that we're working on with Jim Clyde at the Highway Department. We're here for the scenic road permit. We're removing 7 trees along the roadway, and we're also proposing to remove and reset approximately 200 feet of stone wall throughout the project. The project starts at the Littleton-Acton town line, and it proceeds about 7,000 feet up to the Newtown Road intersection. It's the entire length of Nagog Hill Road within the town. This project is similar in nature to our past projects that we've done, such as Bruce Street, Harvard Road, Neshoba Road, in that it's a full-depth reconstruction of the roadway. So we're going to be excavating out the existing subbase material, placing new pavement. The proposed pavement width is 20 feet wide, which is approximately what is there now, depending on where you measure it within the roadway. There'll be new closed drainage going down, new manholes, catch basins, safety improvements throughout the project, new street signage, new pavement markings, also new sub-drainage to get the groundwater out of the soil, and also stormwater quality improvements. Nagog Pond is Town of Concord drinking water supply, so we've coordinated our design with them to get some stormwater improvements into the project that they would like to see. And also, we've gone in front of the Conservation Commission and received an order of conditions for the project so far. When you went to Concord, did they offer to pay for any of the improvements that we're going to do?
They did not, no. Such as with Neshoba Road, they did not, no. So,
You got your CONSCOM approval already?
we do have Conservation Commission approval
That's
already.
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And can you highlight the things that Concord asked for? And
Sure.
you don't have to do it right now, but I mean,
Okay.
we can.
Sure, maybe as I go through the project in a little bit, I can highlight those, yes.
Actually, if you guys have an extra set of plans, we can share them with the residents.
Oh, sorry, we had something for the screen, but it looks like the computer
Yeah.
went a little haywire.
What page are you going to point to here now?
There's the everybody can see.
Start on page 5 of 17. The project does propose to improve vertical geometry in 3 spots, so that as the roadway goes up and down, as you go through the hills and valleys of the roadway. That one location is near Fort Pond Road. Another location is near number 91 Nagog Hill Road, which is where there's a sharp curve in the roadway, right by the orchard and the town conservation land. The other one is in the large sag curve as you go between Berry Bush Lane and the top of near Newtown Road. That's kind of a large sag through there. We also have 2 locations
Down from your house? That's where you start, near,
That's on my line. 2 of them on my property.
near number
Ewing.
11 is the bottom of the sag there.
near Ewing's, that's that's the dip.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
And Tom, do you have any issue with those trees?
No.
So they're okay? They remove them? Yeah,
Hang on.
okay.
Do you get the firewood?
Did you offer to pay for that firewood? You're Cockeyite. I'm sorry.
No problem. We are also improving the intersection geometry at 2 locations, at Fort Pond Road and at the intersection with Newtown Road. That's kind of one of the major things. Some of the major removing resettings and tree removal we're doing. If you look at sheet 6, where the intersection of Fort Pond Road comes in, we are removing a twin 28-inch tree, an oak tree. We're removing and resetting stone walls on both sides of the roadway. The problem there is that the hill coming up on Nagog Hill Road isn't great. And if you try to come out of Fort Pond Road, if you look either to the left or right, the hillside coming down into the roadway also blocks your view.
Yeah.
Also, the stone walls and the tree we're removing
Yeah.
also blocks your view. So we're going to remove the tree, pull the hillside back, and we're also going to remove and reset that stone wall back out of the sight line of a driver at that stop sign. This is town conservation, Littleton Conservation Trust land, and we've coordinated with them. They are okay with what we're proposing to do.
That's great.
There is another 38-inch oak tree just a little further north of Fort Pond Road that we're removing, and there's a stone wall just a little further north of that we're moving and resetting. Just as the grade of the roadway is going to change a little bit, we want to blend that back into the existing stone wall. At Station 109, in the middle of the roadway, there's a remove and reset wall to the left, and that is just to blend into the existing drainage improvements. We are reconstructing a culvert there, and we just want that to blend into the existing head wall, or the new head wall we're putting there, rather. And there's also a remove and reset stone wall that we would like to get out of the right-of-way, and also away from the roadway for safety improvements there. As you advance along the project to sheet 8, you'll see right across from the Sarah Dublett parking area, there is a remove and reset stone wall so we can get a drainage culvert onto the other side of the wall. That'll go back in the existing spot that it currently is. And we're also removing a 38-inch tree, and that is also an oak tree. That tree, you can tell it's very close to the roadway. It's been hit multiple times. It really is a safety hazard, and there really wasn't much wiggle room in our design to end up avoiding the tree anyway.
And a tree of that age is typically at the end of its life anyways.
Yes, it is old. I would like to note, when we first started this project with the highway department, Jim had a arborist come out to evaluate. We identified, I believe it was 16 trees. We just wanted to know the condition of them. If they were in poor condition, we may be more apt to, if we were going to have a hit on a tree, remove that tree rather than a tree that was in good condition.
Yeah.
He ultimately determined that all 16 that we identified were in poor health and would eventually have to come down, I believe he said, within the next 5 years or so.
Yeah.
We are not proposing to remove all those trees. We've pared down that list to only the ones that we feel need to come out due to the road.
Oh, the 7, yeah.
As you move along to sheet 9, there is a remove and reset stone wall, a short piece just to get in a drainage structure that's across from Sarah Dublett Road. That'll go back to its existing location. And there are not really too many trees or stone walls for the rest of the project.
You've been there before.
Paved road?
It's a dirt road. It goes down and then the branches and there's some cottages on
Sarah
both
Dublett's
sides.
paved. You're thinking charter. It goes up to the Sarah Dublett land, that's charter. Sarah Dublett's right past the apple stand.
Right,
And
subdivision
down
roadway.
the left.
All right,
Yeah,
I knew that.
you knew that. I knew you knew that.
Now, is it Sarah Doublet or Sarah Doublet?
I've been told Sarah Dublett, but we did ask the question.
Because you said doublet a few minutes ago.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's like Wrigley's gum, you know, with the twins.
Could be Dublin.
Okay. Double.
Just north of Berry Bush Lane, there's a 20-inch tree that we're removing.
What page you on now, honey?
Oh,
14
I'm
or
sorry.
17.
14, yep. That one, again, is very close to the roadway. So for safety concerns and just due to construction. We're also proposing subdrain through this area, which goes 4 feet below your pavement. So in order to get that subdrain in, it would really take out all the roots that are associated with that tree. There's a small 6-inch tree that was not reviewed by that arborist, but is also not in very good condition on sheet 15 that we propose to remove.
Looks like it's growing up through the wall.
That is actually so the stone hatching that you see down there is a stone swale that we're putting in, a drainage swale.
Okay.
That's also, we see that as a safety improvement as well, as the water will be able to sheet flow off the roadway. So we want to get that stone swale as long as possible. Then the last two trees that we propose to remove are right next to each other on sheet 17. And they are an 8 and a 10-inch tree. This is a location where we start to come up from that large hill near Mr. Clancy's house. And just because of the grades, in order to get that to work, there are numerous trees along this slope. These last two we were not able to, we had to kind of play with the design in order to minimize our impacts there. So those 8 and 10-inch trees, we just weren't able to meet the proper values that we needed to design the roadway to.
That's real steep there anyways, I was by that today and they're growing.
Yeah.
So you're gonna cut that back some, is that what you're planning?
Yes, yeah, as you start to come, I don't know if you notice, as you start to come up the very steep hill, you almost start to lose the roadway, the view of your roadway, because there's another small dip. So we're going to do our best to correct that. In order to fill in that entire curve, we found we'd have to raise the road 10 feet, which obviously is not feasible. We have people's driveways, so we tried to do the best we could through there to correct that, so.
Have you taken into consideration snow loads on both sides of the road as well?
We do propose, if you look at our typical section, that is on back on sheet 3, you'll see we note a 3-foot soft shoulder on both sides of the roadway.
Okay.
That is where we try to accommodate that as much as possible, not to the detriment of trees or stone walls and those sort of things.
Yeah.
But that is both an area where someone could step off the side of the roadway if there's a car coming. It's also an area that the highway department would be able to store a little bit more snow. A lot of times with a lot of the older country roads, the roadway does slope down right into the pavement, so there isn't a whole lot of stone storage areas.
And so that's stone. That's stone.
It's a
It's
soft
not paved.
shoulder.
No, it's a grass shoulder.
Any questions?
No, and the other question I was going to have was pedestrian friendly. We try to incorporate pedestrian friendly and bicycle elements as much as we can.
He said he made a soft shoulder and would dive in the woods when something comes by. That's
Yeah.
pedestrian friendly, isn't it?
Well, in a way, I can see that as, a place to walk if you're
Tuck
going
and
to
roll,
walk.
dude.
Right now, there's no place to walk on that road. There are places where you just can't walk. And people
Walk fast.
I use that road, and traffic is fast on that road.
Being out there
Carry
for
marbles.
design purposes myself, I would say there are not a lot of places, people do drive fast there. We did have discussions with Jim when we first started the design, and we also looked into the feasibility of a sidewalk. You do have a lot of trees there.
Yeah.
You have utility poles close to the roadway, stone walls, and also the right-of-way is very narrow. So the feasibility of doing a sidewalk was costly on this job.
Yeah, and there's not that many homes on that street.
Once you get past, certainly Neshoba Road, there are not a lot
Yeah.
of homes, correct.
So, talking about the speed on the road, we put in the solar speed signs around the corner.
Yes.
I'm wondering if there's been any talk about doing it on Nagel Hill as well. Any feedback, Jim, on that?
We did not discuss that.
That hadn't come up on this one. We aren't changing the speed limits on this road. And also, when we had put the speed feedback signs on the Neshoba Road, in a lot of our research, it showed you don't want to put too many of those too close together. It just becomes pollution, and people do start to ignore them. So you do want to select your spots where you put those. I believe it's you don't want it more than like a 5-mile radius, if I remember correctly.
Thanks for that information.
I will say that we did have a meeting about the complete streets this week. When was this week?
Yeah, it was.
And the police chief is interested in trying to put some of those speed feedback signs throughout the town. He's got some ideas in his head where he wants to put them, but that's,
Okay,
Yeah, it's, in the thought process right now.
okay.
When you say feedback signs, are they the signs that,
Tell you how fast you're going.
Yeah, you can, like, the ones on the show, we have them set to a certain parameter that if they're under the threshold, they don't come on. If you go over the speed limit, they do a certain thing. If you really go over the speed limit, they start to flash fast. And if you really go, then they shut off.
You all set? You good? Addressing everything is
Yeah, I guess we have some residents. so-
working my way around.
I just,
You're good?
yeah, I mean, I'll just say that it's really hard when you go to cut trees down. I mean, we don't like to do it. We work as hard as we possibly can to make it work with what we're doing. And when we first started, as Tom said, we had something like 25 trees on our list. We're like, whew. You know, but that's the very rough road design, and then we start to refine the road and see what we can do to make it work, and we feel like we reach a balance, and it's worth kind of threading the needle on these old roads to get stuff in, and I mean, we don't take it lightly. We go out and look to see what we have to do, and, you know, we really don't want to take any down, but with the amount of traffic that we have, yes, they are old country roads, but there's a lot of traffic, and
Well, we're only taking down what we, bare minimum we have to, correct? I mean, I mean, I can see you're passionate about it in many respects, so, and the same thing, you went from 25, what, down to 7?
Yes. It's one at a time.
Yeah.
I think that's, that's a fair pairing, paring it down. I assume you're here for this reason also?
Yeah.
This, okay.
I just really like the country road
Could you-
aspect of it, and
Yeah,
I feel
one
like.
second, would you please give your name and?
Oh, sure, my name is Maura Keeler, I live at 60 Nangato Road,
Okay,
the
thank you.
corner of Neshoba and Nanga.
All right, Mary, you get it?
Thank you.
I just say keep the big old trees. I mean, old growth trees are rare, that's what makes the road as pretty as it is. That's what makes it scenic. I mean, people can slow down. It's less of this long, this road's been there a really long time, the trees have been there for 200 years or whatever. I mean, I understand that you have to, rework the road in certain ways and stuff like that, I get that, but I say don't take the trees down unless they're dead, basically.
Well,
That's my vote on the other end of the spectrum, I guess.
okay, but I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate, honestly, I try and take down as few as I possibly can in the areas where I have things, but I also know that, people have to travel, the speeds are going faster, everything's faster than it was in the old days with the horse and buggy. And that's what a lot of our roads are. They were just nothing more than what was there, and they just got a little bit wider, and now they got
Right,
faster.
yeah, that's true.
And, where I live, I know I cut about 60 trees down to put my house up. Well, you gotta, progress comes, and sometimes unfortunately the trees take their head. And that's what we're gonna have to do here more than likely, and I'm pretty happy, I drove the road today, and the trees I thought they'd be taking more. So the seven they've got it down to, I think is a fair, what's the right word we're looking for, compromise, I guess?
I guess, but they're taking some of the biggest ones down, and,
those seem to be
those
the
are the
ones that
old
are-
growth trees, that's what makes, people don't realize that what makes something beautiful is the big old
Well,
trees.
I think they do understand it, it's just that,
Yeah,
progress unfortunately is reared its evil head.
but why would you need progress on that road, for what?
Or you want us to let it go to hell and,
No, I don't, no, I'm not pitching for that, but I mean, fix what you need to fix, but I don't see why big old trees have to come down, that's.
Well, roads have a certain dimension that they need to have according to state statistics because of the width of cars and so forth. And then you've got the shoulders of the road. Now, some of these trees, they were all looked at by an arborist, is what I'm told. And even after the arborist had agreed with 16 of them.
And is he gonna
They-
get paid to take them down? I mean,
They-
not to be insulting, but is he the person who'll take them down?
He's not.
No, but after he agreed that they were not in the best of health, that, and that the would eventually die within the next 5 years. That's something that we look at very carefully.
I think that's a compelling statement
They,
itself.
they pared that down to 7 of those 16. So actually, 9 of those 16 trees that are not in the best of health, that are gonna die in the next 5 years, are gonna remain. Now, when they die in the next 5 years, That's a problem because their roots and everything go underneath the road. And at this point, if the trees are taken down, then that section of road will be built, will have a good base to it. If the trees die and that section of road has those roots under it, you're gonna end up with a very weak section of road there. And it'll collapse and you'll have problems and those problems will never go away. So you only really have one shot at fixing a road. And it's, and these roads are in for 50 to 100 years before they get really rebuilt like this again.
I see, that makes sense.
You know, they'll, in 20 years, they might be scarfed and repaved, but they won't be completely rebuilt like that.
I believe a couple of trees you're talking about are on the lower half of Nagog. One is across from the Sarah Dublin parking lot. If you look at the base of that, it's got some rot in the base. Tree health is not an exact science, and that tree could live another 50 or 100 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And it could fall over tomorrow.
Right, well, that's what a 5-year thing is kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
They've been telling me
and-
the oak tree in my front lawn is huge. I've had different people say, oh, the thing's gonna die, like next year. It's fine, it's been there for 250
So,
years.
We probably have an obligation as the town that, there was a huge limb that came off of that used to protrude over the road that had to get removed because it was too low and the trucks hit it. And, there's some rot in there, so, what's the inside of the tree? And again, it could, that's one of the ones that's bad. If you take the one that's further down, I agree that's a fairly nice tree, and it's a shame for that to go, but it is right on a corner, and it protrudes into the road right now.
Once again, you're not, it just looks like you're not taking down, an excessive amount. You're doing the bare minimum you need to do to make the project be complete.
This
So-
is, can I speak? On your two. Sir?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the plan as presented.
Am I allowed to second that?
No.
Why not?
Chair,
No.
I'll second that for reasons of discussion. So I can speak? Good. Green International was selected because they had done so many smaller roads as the engineer to help us rebuild some of these older roads that are really in tough shape. There were many firms that do engineering, but Green happened to have more of the old country road repair work in their portfolio. So we brought them on. They did a great job on Bruce Street. If you drive Bruce Street, you'll see one old oak that we did the best we could to save, and we did save it. And it protrudes right almost to the road, but the tree was in terrific health. Then they went on to Hartwell, and they did an incredible job.
Harvard.
Was it Harvard? Yeah, it was an incredible job because the right-of-way there was extremely narrow. So to contain water, they put these catchments underneath the roadway. So you don't have retention ponds beside the roadway, they're underneath the roadway. So they're very conscious about conserving the water that comes down and making sure that it gets into the ground the right way. I'll get rid of the on Neshoba Road, they did it, I thought, what was a terrific job there too, because that was a tough road with lots of winds and turns.
Yeah.
So, they're really the best there is, we have around in New England, I think. And if their recommendation is 7 out of 20 some odd, I would go with the recommendation. It's the same as, if I was seeing a doctor and he was an expert in his field.
I mean, the one he was talking about, that's the big one, that's a shame to take down. That one's in good health, actually. Is it just that it's too close to the road? Is that-
Which one? The one near, between?
The one you were just referring to, by Fort Pond.
Yeah, that one, it's very,
And then
very
one,
close
there's
to the
one
road.
that's coming, as you come up the hill by where, what's his name, that farmer guy used to live, his name, on the right.
Yeah, that's the other one.
That's the other one.
That's the
Big
one.
ones. There's a couple of really big ones that I just feel like it takes a really long time for the trees to grow that big, and the small ones are fine, but the big ones, it takes a very long time for them to grow,
What constitutes an old growth tree?
That is a good question.
That's a good
I do
question. I'm
not
gonna say
know.
150 years, I mean, that's a long time for a tree to
I
get that
think
big.
it predates our existence in America, I thought. Aren't they
250
the original trees that were here before we deforested half the country
Yeah.
state?
I guess in my mind, it's just, you know, if the tree's 100 years old, 200 years old, that's a very long, you know, it takes 200 years for another tree to become that big, and that's a bummer. To lose those trees that's a really big thing. They make the landscape look old and beautiful, and, you know, you can have a lot of little trees, and that's fine, but the big ones are really, they're not replaceable, actually, not in our lifetime, so. It just gives me pause.
We've made a motion, did you second the motion? Because we're kind of,
I
we're there
did.
for trees and.
Did the plans call for planting of any new trees?
We do not call for planting of new trees.
Maybe we could put new trees in every place where we take out an old tree.
We cause a problem that they're removing?
Actually, yeah, that'd be too close to the
Well,
road.
we've had a
Yeah.
motion, you second the motion?
I have, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye. So so that approves the plan with those 7 trees gone.
I'm just glad they're not making a sidewalk too. Because
Yeah.
I know that road, I walk on that road all the time, and it's amazing to me that people don't walk the trails that are there. It's like, why they walk the road, I don't understand why.
Well, now you have a good 3-foot shoulder on that road that you
Yeah.
can walk. It'll be kind of a safe zone.
Yeah, that's better.
On both sides.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Tuck and roll.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Tom. Nice job.
It's great when we have participation.
Oh, yeah.
It really,
You want it?
it really is.
Keep that
Thank
plan.
you.
Want to keep this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all leaving?
All y'all? I got one.
All y'all? All y'all.
Thank you.
Tom, is there any news on Air Liquide? Any update on them? Have you heard any more?
Right?
Yeah, Monday night.
Monday night.
Monday night at the Selectmen?
Yeah, well, it's FEMA's comprehensive permit for the fuel.
Okay, where are we?
But, no, they're still working on the site.
Yeah, have they run into any barriers or any hurdles that they had to, that they couldn't meet? Any problems?
Not so far. We met with them last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, no, I mean, the fueling stations for the retail still hasn't, they're still not, they're kind of permitting, and you know, those are in the other towns. Like, this is just a distribution
Yeah,
center, so.
yeah.
It's not a big build-up. I mean, that's what they've got places like this all over.
Yeah, when I was in California, I actually went to one of those. It's
Yeah.
very,
Was it a Kia?
it was Toyota, the Toyota
Your
mothership.
ride?
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah, and the gas station, the filling station was right there. They had a generating plant on top of a building right there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a nice platform.
They make hydrogen out of basically anything, air.
Yep.
You drive on it, and it gives nothing back but water and air again. It's just the
Yeah.
best.
If you have enough solar panels, you can actually generate it all green without doing anything.
That's incredible, yeah.
But they catch on fire all the time.
And it, it was the, but anyways, the tanks that they have, that they put in a car are tiny. They're this big and this round, that's it. And you can drive 400 miles on a tank full.
What's it cost you?
Zero.
Nothing in fuel right now.
Huh?
They're not charging you for fuel. They'll
Zero.
lease the car, free fuel for 3
Zero
years.
per fuel, that's right.
Yeah.
I thought they gave up on those, they're still trying to make them.
Oh, they're
Well,
not giving up.
they're in production. Every car manufacturer has a
So you're
hydrogen car.
banking their future on it.
I drove a Toyota and I drove a Mercedes, and the Mercedes was beautiful. And you can, when they come off the line, they'll only be rentable. You won't be able to own them because they want to bring them back after 70,000 miles to examine what goes, what gets worn on them.
Yeah.
Because it's only, you got your drivetrain that gets worn, which has some sort of generating equipment inside it. And-
Yeah, it's a fuel cell.
And the fuel
It's an
cell.
electric vehicle.
Right.
Right, so unlike a Tesla or a Volt, you just don't plug it in, you just fill it up with hydrogen fuel and off you go.
Yeah, you're not connected to anything.
So if you got a spare tank, you go at 800 miles.
Yeah, put on the roof.
Yeah, and the fuel cell is so interesting because you take the hydrogen under pressure, it sends it through this membrane. The membrane extracts the extra electron in the hydrogen, and on the other side of the membrane, you end up with water, and that extracted electron goes into a battery that runs a car. Bang, there's your electric car.
Once you figured that about 50 years ago, we could have been, you know.
They've been talking about it for that long.
Yeah, it's that
I
simple.
remember as a kid, they were driving those things around, but
Oh, as
I
a
thought
kid
we'd see it
50
by
years
now.
ago, you remember?
Not
What, you
50,
about
no.
8?
1990.
No, the northeast corridor,
You did too. You met here in 1990.
the northeast corridor is where they're gonna,
Yeah,
is
I
where
did.
they're focusing on it, because when
Home.
they came out with them in California,
Okay, it's 8 o'clock.
they,
Thank you for filling the time. And you hopefully got that out of you.
but I didn't finish.
Oh, yeah, you're done now. It's 8 o'clock. We gotta keep to the agenda.
They found that the northeast was the next
And so, here we are.
biggest market.
The continued public hearing of 80 King Street. I thought we,
That would be me, I think.
Carl Strathmeyer. Yep. So with only 3, you're going to, I would recommend that you open and immediately continue the hearing and talk about site plan issues.
very good. Gonna open the meeting.
Vote to continue the hearing. I'll make a motion to continue the hearing.
So what would be a good date?
Carl, what would be a good date to continue this hearing?
I'm very flexible.
Because
So we can go through on an informational basis here, and then maybe you can tell me, when and with what I should be doing.
Well, what is he short of that he needs in order to continue? He's,
Well, the kind of the build-out plan is
Yeah.
what we're,
Yeah, you folks granted me a temporary site plan back last fall. And the major hurdle there was that we bought only a portion of the Weber's land. We bought the buildings, and the land, the subdivision line, goes directly through their very large commercial greenhouse. And they requested, in our purchase and sale, they requested some months, they requested 6 months to make that greenhouse go away. And the greenhouse has to be off our land before we can really start doing any serious site planning about an alternative parking spot. parking lot. So you folks granted me a temporary site plan approval to continue business with the site essentially as it was under the Weber's ownership, pending their making that greenhouse go away. So I was prepared to come here tonight to give you an update on sort of what's happened since then, where we're at, and then maybe you can advise me as to what my next steps should be, because I think we have a couple different paths that we could take.
Okay.
The store has been open since April 1st. We got our occupancy permit in late March.
Great.
The first page of photographs that you see here in the package is the interior of the store, so that's what the remodeled Weber floor shop looks like now. We had, after a few weeks in operation, we had a grand opening event. We knew that was going to draw quite a number of people, probably 300 people in the course of a Saturday. So we were able to arrange with St. Anne's Parish across the street for the use of their parking lot there, and they have said to us that when we have events like this in the future, should we, they would be willing to do the same thing.
That's great.
We engaged a Littleton detail officer to worry about, to handle traffic and to get pedestrians across King Street, which is State Route 2A, 110 there.
Yeah.
Traffic on Saturday afternoon is nuts. So that was very helpful.
That's
So
great.
that whole arrangement for any sort of major event that we would have seems to be very, very workable on all sides.
That's great.
We didn't actually use any of the parking on our own land for that because we had like party tent set up
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So that seemed to work. The front greenhouse, that kind of display greenhouse that the Weber's had, has been demolished. You'll see a couple, I think my summary goes in reverse order of the photographs. So if you look at the other 2 pages, the top of the second page here, that used to be a display greenhouse, that's been demolished, and we've replaced it for the time being with a gravel surface, which gives us 4 additional parking places. And we erected the picket fence you see on the right at the top of that retaining wall. for safety purposes.
Is that, will that be staying like that?
Yes, the plan will be that the picket fence will stay like that, and that we will use that space for 4 spaces. We have not
Has
paved
Roland
it.
looked at that?
Excuse me?
Has Roland looked at that fence?
He has not.
All right, that's gonna have to meet code. You
Yeah,
can't
it
just-
will, yes. And,
Because presently, I don't think it'll withstand the
200 pounds.
200 now, it's not 150.
200 pounds lateral force.
Yeah, so it's gotta withstand 200 pounds of lateral force, and it just doesn't look like it's capable of that.
We'll work that out with Roland's office.
Yeah, very good.
So that's 4 spaces. At the bottom of the first page, you'll see that we have made 1 additional parking place next to what is there's like a flagstone walk up to that farmer's porch kind of a thing. Again, 1 parking place there that's gravelled for the time being. The parking place to the right is already paved asphalt. That used to be the driveway into one of the roll-up garage doors. That will be our handicap accessible.
Do you actually need a handicap?
My understanding is up to 20 spaces, I need 1, yes.
I thought 20 spaces, over 20 spaces, you need one,
No,
not
you need
under.
1 through 20, you need 1.
Yeah, I need at least 1 no matter what, I
Well,
believe.
it needs a parking space, and you are already ADA.
Yes, so that space works very well because we can use the approach to the front door of the store as the van accessible, the 4-foot lane that's required next to the parking space.
It's a 5-foot lane or 8-foot lane.
5-foot lane, whatever it is, there's easily that amount of space.
2 building inspectors and a builder.
Scary. And the approach into the building itself, because that was a drive-in garage under the Weber's ownership, there's absolutely no steps or anything. It's totally wheelchair accessible into the building. So there's 2 more spaces. And then at the top, it's a little hard to see in the top of the photograph here.
That's where you're about the quarries, right?
Yes, so that's facing into this photograph, the Quarry's property is what you see behind the bushes there. We needed a few more spaces, particularly for tenants and so forth, so we were able to take some of the front yard, take 3 more spaces without encroaching on the Quarries, and we discussed with them several different ways to provide that parking, including going around the side of the building, and they preferred this arrangement. So we have 3 more spaces there, again, it's gravelled.
Was that lawn at one time?
It was lawn, yes.
All right, so
Worried about them impervious?
yeah, we're increasing the impervious surface.
There's, there's an acre and a quarter overall. There's quite a large backyard behind this property.
But what you have for parking now and what is presently paved, what you've just taken away grass and made gravel, or stone, which is it's still pervious, but
Well, but over time, it will become compacted and then it'll become impervious. And or somebody will.
Plus, it depends on whether you folks will require me to provide asphalt paving, or whether you would leave it compacted gravel.
well, even though you're parking those vehicles out front now, that may not be the convenient thing in the end. You may have to park somewhere else because you're getting close to your what's his percentage now?
And that's an issue for the Water Resource District special permit and the final plans, which are going to depend on what happens next door.
As I recall, the presentation I made to you when you allowed the temporary permit, we were above the minimum trigger, but well within the, I think there's a 2-tier trigger there, is there not? There's the one trigger that requires the special permit, and the second trigger that you cannot exceed. And I think we were above the requires a special permit. In other words, we triggered that, but we were well within the,
Could we get that information for the next hearing when it comes? So we'll know what you're at.
yeah, I think that brings me, I mean,
That's all right, that's just one thing we'll address when we get to that,
Yeah,
as far as
yeah,
that, so
yeah, exactly.
you can continue on, please.
So there's 3 more parking places, and then we've measured out the existing parking lot that the Webbers used, their lower parking lot. That's the last photograph on the second page. As you remember, that parking lot does not fit entirely on our property. It overlaps somewhat onto onto the land that the Webbers have retained. And you gave me the temporary site plan approval based on the fact that we have a written agreement with the Webbers that so long as that greenhouse continues to be there and we can't build a parking lot back there, that we are
Yeah.
allowed to use
Yeah.
their existing parking lot that overlaps onto their land.
Sure.
Okay, so altogether, we have 20 spaces here. There's 12 in the lower parking lot, and then the 4 and the 2 and the...
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we've done about parking. We did do just the gravel parking because we understood that this was sort of an interim, pending final approval of all
Thank you,
kinds of
Rich.
things. And we didn't want to put the money into asphalt paving, just have to tear it up later.
So
Very
total spaces?
Total spaces are 12 and 4 is 16, 21,
Okay,
16 and 5.
And you're gonna lose how many of those?
yeah.
You're gonna lose some of those to Weber's take one.
If,
How much of that parking lot will you retain in the
we'll
low?
retain about half of it, so we're going to lose 6 or 7 spaces.
But you'll contain the access road down back around?
Which, because that spills over onto the paper road that they've retained, the corridor they've retained for access to King Street. So,
Right, but
should they develop that corridor road, and should they require us to abandon that part of the parking lot, we would then have to build a parking lot. The most likely location is behind the building, and that's why we get into the greenhouse situation,
Right,
where the
so-
greenhouse is occupying that space at the moment.
All right, in reality, so the bottom line, until the greenhouse goes away and you have your parking spaces that necessary,
That's right.
there's not really a lot to talk about, is there?
That's right. The existing temporary approval is perfectly workable. We have 21 spaces, it's proven, except for the major special events where we do have agreement from St. Anne's.
And
for-
once,
I'd like to amend my motion to continue from the next meeting to when the greenhouse is gone and you have a parking lot to propose to us.
Unfortunately, you have to continue to a date certain, or at least the...
A date
first-
certain, that greenhouse won't be gone in a
Well,
month.
I would be happy to come back at any date any date
Well,
certain
let's have
that
a
you
date
mentioned to
certain.
report again.
Tell me when you think the greenhouse will be gone, your best guess.
Sometime this fall, I think. Let me give you a quick update on that. I spoke with Greg Weber just today for the latest news. They have had the asbestos abatement crews, the guys in the moon suits, come in and remove all the greenhouse tables, which were sort of cement asbestos board kind of stuff. They thought they were good to demolish it, and it turns out the structure itself seems to have additional hazardous materials. I don't have the details about what that is. It doesn't seem to be like they use DDT, and so there's this grand aquifer problem. It's just the structure. But Greg is having a major problem trying to find a contractor to come in and demolish the structure. He told me today he has a couple new avenues, but no date. He didn't
no
mention
date
it.
certain.
So we're looking at fall, so can we pick a fall date? Want to do it September?
But it's,
First meeting in September, first
Yeah.
meeting in October, something like
First
that?
meeting September, we'll revisit it then.
Right,
And just a
and-
quick update, and if it's not gone,
Then we just continue.
we'll continue again.
well, this can't go on forever.
It can go on as long as you guys agree it
Yeah.
can
As,
go on.
as I read the bylaws, it can go on for as long as I have a written agreement with the Weber family for use of the existing parking lot.
Yeah,
Which I have now contingent on the disappearance of the greenhouse. And so until that greenhouse disappears, I have written agreement for that parking lot, and I think I'm...
And the Webbers are anxious to get the greenhouse removed anyway.
Of
Yeah,
course,
they-
yes.
So there's no- there
Whatever
won't be-
plans they have for that backland, they have to get it removed as well.
Nope.
So I think in the meantime, really the only thing that I have done that I've done without your
Blessing?
official approval is I created 4 additional parking places and gravelled them.
yeah. Carl, when you're estimating your number of parking spaces on your plan at 21 spaces, how are you doing that? Are you doing that according to the formula that we have in our zoning bylaws?
In my initial the presentation that you considered when you, last fall, I had an analysis there. There was a spreadsheet in that presentation that Maren probably can dig up for you.
So it's...
But regardless, does it
But
follow our?
I did both the rule of thumb, 1 space for every 150 feet of retail space,
Yeah.
plus I counted non-retail space, office space, workshop space, that kind of stuff, lesson studios, numbers of teachers, numbers of students. The rule of thumb of one parking place for every 150 square feet of retail did come up with, as I remember, in the mid to upper 20s of spaces. But what I also presented in that presentation was I presented a year's worth of data for the number of customers and transactions,
Remember.
visitors. and
So
number
what
of
I'd like to
transactions
say
per
is that
hour.
when you get a chance to design the new parking lot, when the greenhouse is gone, that you restore the front lawn to the house so that we can keep the somewhat historic look that's already there of that space. That would be my,
I can take that under advisement. I think if I were a tenant in the second floor apartment, walking all the way around the building would be.
Life isn't always
would be quite
convenient.
awkward.
unless you want to give them another retail space up front, I wouldn't say, I think that it's important that you maintain the look of the home that was there. And 4 parking spaces in front of a house is not the original look or character of that space. So just take it under advisement that you have plenty of space out back. And
Yeah, we do. I might also ask, however, that the historic nature of the business that has been there would probably be, asking both customers and tenants, all of them, to walk from.
No, I'm not asking that at all. You have spaces out back now, and you have spaces in the front. You
Yes.
created 4 additional spaces. You took away, you added,
I added.
Potentially
I
impervious.
added 4 spaces between the house and between the building and the street. Yes, sir.
and so I'd imagine at some point you're going to engage an engineer to design the parking lot for the rear of the building when the greenhouse is gone. You're going to have to access that somehow, right?
The large greenhouse, yes.
Yes. So, at that point, when you design, consider restoring the 4 spaces that you added out front. You can still keep spaces out front for your tenant and your retail, but there could possibly be 4 more spaces out back.
Okay. You take it.
I like the idea. I don't want it to look like Pearl Street in there. But regardless, you all set?
I am. You've
All
done a
right,
great
so
job with the
we're
house,
gonna
by
look
the way.
to continue this for the,
You have one of these?
the second meeting in September?
I've given her one.
The first, what I would recommend, the first meeting in September.
Continue.
And that, then, well, what is that? That's only a month and a half?
2 months.
All right, let's go with that and see how Greg makes out. He's, he's an intelligent man, I'm sure he'll do fine.
Yeah, what I expect to be able to bring at that point is simply the latest word from the Weber family is that the project.
Terrific. 1 second, please. Are you gentlemen here for this?
No.
There's another one after this?
Yeah.
I knew that.
Sorry.
All right, so thank you very much, and
Thank you.
we've already closed this meeting because this was just informal, correct?
There was no, we don't, yeah.
We opened and closed it, so there was
Gonna
nothing
vote.
else happening, so now we need to,
We have to vote to
No, there's no vote.
Continue.
No
continue.
vote to continue. Thank you, Richard.
oh, yeah.
I
Back is
vote to
killing me.
continue, I move to
Second.
continue to our first meeting in September. We have a second? Good.
All those in favor?
Aye?
Ayes have it.
Thank you,
Thanks.
James.
Yep.
See you.
Done a great job with the house, by the way. Yeah, looks great.
All right, where are we now? Because that was the last one I had on this. Where did that come from? Where'd you get that one? Where'd you get that? I don't have that one. Okay, where are we? 3 Sarah Indian Way. So, this is the one off of Nagog Hill Road or something?
Off Fort Pond.
What, you took mine?
Or coming.
I did now.
What? What, you found it in there?
It was clipped to the.
Oh, I did read this, but I knew that. And this is the one that comes off of our, in part of Littleton, then goes back into Acton, is that true?
Correct.
That's right. I think
Yes.
You had a small version of the plan.
Probably starts in Acton and goes into Littleton.
All right. And the building will be in Acton. And you want us to do what to you?
You're just to make sure, we're here, you asked us to be here, in case my septic system fails on my existing house, that I'm not intruding into anybody's property. There's 7 acres of land there. There was 10 acres.
It's an approval not required plan that was submitted previously. There were some comments and we're here back to address those. The septic was really a question from the Board of Health, not the Planning Board. We're welcome to answer that. And I believe that was...
Yes,
That was it.
as soon as the A&R came in, there was a problem on a similar division, and Jim Garepi asked just that I flag to him any come in that looked, or in this particular configuration. His comments were that the existing lot would have to meet Title V, and I believe his engineer picked up the information that said that there is not a concern with this
Okay.
layout.
So this lot, when you're all said and done, you said there's going to be 7 acres
No.
with this house?
I have 9.75 acres. And the lot in the front, which is in Acton, I divided about 2.5 acres to make it a legal building lot.
Correct.
Okay.
And they okayed the lot.
All
And
right.
then Littleton, because, I'm not sure, this is standard.
So it was also a division of land in Littleton.
Okay.
We submitted with the town as well. So Lot 16A is conforming lot for Acton, and Lot 16B is a conforming lot for Littleton. And that's the gist of it.
And this is
It meets subdivision because of,
like to the,
it meets the approval not required because of the road frontage.
Yeah, even though it's in another town.
Correct.
Yeah.
all right?
Okay.
And they're here because of us as one the
In
board?
A&R.
You're gonna sign the Mylar, I think.
I'm pretty much good with it. We
Actually,
don't,
when they told me, they just said, you gotta go, it's a formality.
okay,
And so I said, I'm fine with formalities.
very good.
I would recommend you vote on the A&R.
I'll move to approve the A&R as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So be approved. We will sign your Mylar.
Fantastic.
Did you bring that with you?
It's right here.
We'll just leave it right there, it's easy.
Okay.
And in the meantime, is there anything else in front of the board?
Nothing else.
Did I hear a motion to adjourn?
This is a plan pen?
I hear a second on that
I'll
motion?
second that.
Unless
You
you
hear
have
that? Second that emotion.
All the building that's going on.
Moving to close the meeting?
Yes,
We're done.
close the meeting till...